Hello, it's Tom Donald from the London Contemporary School of Piano. Today we're going to embark on a 30-day challenge of piano scales. Yes, today we're going to talk about scales. I'm going to set you a challenge over the next 30 days with your scales. Why am I doing this to you? Well, because I know many of you are very half-hearted with your scales. And what I mean by that is that, you've learnt a few scales, a few of your favourite scales, and that's it. That's all you know. You haven't actually gone through all 12 keys. And over the next 30 days, I'm going to propose something, regardless of your level. If you haven't learnt all 12 keys, as major scales, for instance, we're going to figure out how to do that. So 30 days from now, you'll know all your major keys. And perhaps you'll even know all your minor keys. But we're going to start with just those major keys. So why is this a problem for so many students? I think the reason why this is a problem for so many students is because the way they're practicing their scales is just too high commitment. They practice it in a way where they give themselves all of these other tasks they have to learn, accurate fingering, accurate notes, and they just end up getting lost in a couple of scales and they don't progress any further and they sort of lose interest. And that's very understandable. So what we're instead going to do, I'm going to show you some strategies so you can cover all 12 keys in one sitting without excess theory, without excess knowledge of fingering, some really clever strategies. And then we'll use those strategies to expand that outwards to playing full-blooded scales in more octaves and with more added features. So, if you're a fan of our work at the London Contemporary School of Piano, you need to visit our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, to get the free resources kit, which covers all of these videos. It just gives you all of the accompaniments you need for these videos. So when you're sitting down at the piano and you're practicing, you've got some of these resources. And we also have a wonderful scales course on our website that you should check out as well. Anyway, we're going to start with this really great little trick, and it's called a 5-note scale. Some people call it a pentascale. I like to call it a microscale. And this is a great way to cover all 12 keys quickly and effectively. I can do this on a C. It's very easy. On a C, it's just this. I learnt this actually from warming up singers. Singers often warm up with this sort of micro scale thing, and then they do it in all 12 keys. So we're going to do it a bit like singers. Now, the reason why this is a really powerful technique is that you don't get tied down to fingering. We're going to use the same fingering on every single scale, and that means we're going to be able to cover all 12 keys, and you're going to learn where those 12 keys are. So let's do it now. We're going to very slowly work through all 12 major scales or keys, and we're going to play it in this microscale format. And this is a great practice thing that you can practice every day to learn all your 12 major scales really quickly. So the scale is related to the chord. If I play a triad, a C major triad, for instance, that's the first, third, and the fifth note of the scale. Scales and chords are related to each other. They're one in the same. And then we add those passing notes between it, the C, D. The D is a tone, and that's your semitone between the 3 and the 4th note. You could also call it a half note. And then you've got the tone at the end, the F to the G. So I've got the chord, and then I fill it out with the scale. Now, if some of that theory is a little hard to remember, I'm going to give you a very powerful tip before we go through all 12 keys. Use your ear. And the reason why you should use your ear is because you know what it sounds like. You've heard major scales your whole life. You'll know if you get it wrong. And then you use the mistakes you make as feedback to correct yourself. So that's a really powerful tip. Let's just do this with the right hand. We're going to go through all 12 keys right now. I'll start with the chord and I'll fill it out with the microscale or the pentascale. Here we go. and I've finished that whole octave worth of scales. So I've just, in one sitting, played all 12 keys. That's really, really important. Let's do the same thing with the left hand. The left hand fingering is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And again, the power of this exercise is that I'm using the same fingering for every scale. So I'm not tripping myself up with fingering. I'm actually learning every scale before we get to playing the full scale with the full octave. So let's do this with the left hand. But to mix things up a bit, let's not start on C. Let's just start on another key and go up the 12 scales that way. So let's begin. I'm going to begin on A. Let's go. I did a full 2 octaves there just to give the left hand an extra workout, because many of you should be spending a bit more time on your left hand. You probably have a bit of right hand bias going on, so it's always good to give the left hand some extra things to do as well. So I've covered all 12 keys just like that. And if you're on keys you're less familiar with, again, like, let's say E flat major, let's say you were to make a little error and accidentally do something like this, your ear will notice. And that will help you remember the theory. So don't put the theory first, put your ear first, and then use the theory to leverage why something went wrong with your ear. When you heard something wrong with your ear, you're like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Oh, that's the semitone, for instance. And remember, all of these scales are built from the triads. That's why I put such a big emphasis on chords, because when you know your chords, we're just filling them out to turn them into scales. So already now we've covered all 12 keys, which is pretty exciting, because I know many of you probably only knew 4 or 5 keys before we started this video. So as part of your 30-day challenge with scales, you can immediately implement that exercise. So before we turn this into a full octave scale like this, where I'm going to show you some great tricks for that. But before we do that, let's turn these major scales into minor scales. So how do we turn these 5-note pentascales into a minor scale? We only have to change one note, and that's the middle note of the triad, C major, C minor. The other notes stay exactly the same. So then we get this. So I'm just playing minor right now. When it's just minor, it really tests our shape and our understanding of the triad. Just moving up in minor triads like that, also very helpful. Another way to practice that is going from major to minor. I would actually strongly recommend that because it gives context to the minor. So you could practice these microscales like this as well. Major, minor, major, minor, major, minor, and so on. Major, minor, major, minor, So going from major to minor gives the minor more context, and that's an easier way to help you understand minor. I have seen with many students over the years that if they don't know their major scales, like if you don't know your major scales, playing minor is going to be very, very difficult. So I really strongly recommend learn those microscales all as major first and then turn them into minor using those techniques. So now let's look at full octave scales. Now, again, the mistake a lot of students make is they go straight to 2 octave scales or 4 octave scales, which are really important and great, by the way. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you just do that, you're going to get stuck on the key that you're on. You're going to find it really hard to get through all your 12 keys. So if you want to practice your scales with 4 octaves, pick the key that you're practicing that day. And for the sake of getting your finger in right, let's say it's A major. And then you make that your objective. I'm just going to work on my A major in 4 octaves today and maybe another key. But you're going to find it hard to get through all 12 keys. And that's why you might be at this point where you've only learnt 4 or 5 scales, is because you were stretching out too many octaves too soon. A better thing to do would be to learn them as microscales and then just as the next step up from that as octaves, only 1 octave. And then your objective is to get through, as part of your 30-day challenge, get through all 12 keys, major keys, in just 1 octave format and all in 1 string. So you're in one sitting playing all 12 keys with 1 octave. So that's our second goal here. Let's give it a go. I'm going to go slowly, not too fast. And I've completed the cycle there. I call that a super scale because it's like I was playing all scales in one go and they all turned into one stream of consciousness. So that's a really effective way to practice all 12 keys, to practice them in one setting, in one go. Really important. And you could do the same thing with the left hand. Let's start on D major. We don't have to start on C major. We can sort of start in other points of the scale, and going up the semitones, the half notes, really powerful because you can link each of them together. I know this is a bit difficult, and if you're finding that hard, start with your microscales, your pentascales, and then you stretch out to the octaves. Let's try this with the left hand now, starting on D major. Oh, there's so many things I could talk about with scales. I could make a whole course on scales. In fact, if you visit our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, we do have a course on scales, led by one of our wonderful teachers, Marie Palazan. I would highly recommend you check out that course because it's a full integrated approach to scales. However, I wanted to show you one other thing. I wanted to show you a little secret with the right-hand fingering of scales that you might not have come across before. It's just a very interesting pattern. And in music, patterns are everything because they can help us remember all sorts of things. I see so many students going out and buying scale books and arpeggio books, and they sit on their shelves and they're all, 12 keys with major, minor variations and all the other variations of harmonic and melodic and minor, and it goes on and on and on. And the book's about this thick. And again, the students only know 4 or 5 scales. They sort of reach a point where their brain can't pick up anymore, and they've just got all of these books that waste all this paper, and their fingers still don't know how to play scales. A book will not teach you how to play scales. I'm just going to be totally straight with you on this, because scales happen here, and the patterns happen here with our fingers. And fingering scribbled on a piece of paper will only take you so far. In fact, it really won't take you anywhere. Let me show you this pattern. A lot of people get lost when they play scales on the black keys. They go, well, what fingering should I use? And it was pretty easy when we were playing the pentascales because we'll just go in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, starting with the thumb. And that took that problem out of the equation, and you could actually learn the notes, which was great. But when we get to fingering these scales, what fingering do we use? Fingering in scales are not rules, they're just principles. You could actually use different fingerings for the same scales. Not many people know that. There isn't an official fingering that you have to use. In fact, by the time you're playing a piece of music, the scales fingerings have to change to fit the piece of music. So there are many fingerings you can use with scales. So scale fingering is determined by principles, not rules. Things that just work well and flow better. And it's like getting into good habits rather than it is that exact fingering. And I tend to put a lot of variation in my scale fingering because I improvise a lot in my playing. You might have even noticed now. I'm sure there's a comment here right now on this YouTube channel. So why did you start with that fingering? Aren't you meant to use that fingering? There's no point being dogmatic about scale fingering because if you're playing a piece of music, it's going to land differently anyway. So let me show you this little secret. It's just a great little pattern. So if I play a C major scale, you'll notice a very conventional way to play it is my thumb will always land on C and F. And this is the real key here. Where does my thumb go? So if you're trying to work out the fingering of a scale and you're going over an octave, ask yourself the question, where does my thumb go? In this case, my thumb is going on C and F, and I'm organising the rest of my fingering around the fact that I want my thumb to land on C and F. So let's go to a scale like D flat major. My thumb is also going to land on C and F when I play this D flat major scale. And I'm going to follow another principle. My thumb is not going to go on a black key. I'm going to put my second finger on the black key instead, so it's a bit more fluent. So my thumb will only land on the C and the F, just like C major, but I'm playing a D flat major now. Thumb on F, thumb on C, thumb on F, thumb on C. So my thumb landed on F and C. Let's play an E flat major now. My thumb on F, my thumb on C, my thumb on F, my thumb on C. Just like C major, again, my thumb lands on F and C. What about an F major scale? My thumb on F, my thumb on C. What about a G flat major scale? My thumb on C flat, my thumb on F, my thumb on C, my thumb on F. In this case, it's a C flat, but again, it's another type of C. A flat major, my thumb on C, my thumb on F, my thumb on C, my thumb on F. Can you see the pattern here? My thumb always goes on C and F, basically. B flat major, my thumb on C, my thumb on F. Again, my thumb lands on C and F. I think you get the point now, don't you? So why buy a book that's this thick, that has all these scale fingerings in it? Well, just one sentence, I can tell you, in the right hand, your thumb goes on the C and the F. But there's a deeper question here, because it does change when we get to the left hand. I mean, in the left hand, our thumb does go on the C and F for scales like D flat major, but when we go to other keys on the left hand, it will change a bit. Like E flat major, the thumb will be on G, and the thumb will be on D. But what I want you to think about here, the most important question here, is where does the thumb go? Or you could ask yourself, where should my thumb go? Because once you've planned where your thumb is going to go, the passage of movement across the scale is much, much easier. Rather than thinking, 2, 3, 4, 1, like it just becomes too many orders you're barking out to yourself. Just ask yourself the question, where is my thumb going? And stay consistent to that for the scale. And that is the art of scale fingering. Scale fingering is following these principles that create great patterns. So there's a little trick you can add to your 30-day challenge. A little bit of a secret, because you don't read that in the textbooks. I've never seen that written in a scale textbook ever, anywhere. Please prove me wrong if there is one out there. There isn't one. If you're writing a textbook on scales, there's a secret for you. So let's finish off with a couple of minor patterns. I'm not going to go in every single key, just so we run out of time. This is your 30-day challenge, by the way, so you need to decide how you want to do that. And by the way, if it gets a bit lonely here on YouTube and you're trying to work out piano on YouTube, you should consider some proper professional piano coaching, even if you're just playing for fun. Just one lesson a month can totally transform your playing. And all of the work we do at the London Contemporary School of Piano are with specialised teachers who have a rare qualification in being able to detect your learning style and build a program around your own independent learning style. So it's not like old-fashioned piano lessons where, we're just barking out orders to our students. I think you've figured out that we're not really quite like that. If you're if you've been following our work, we don't have much availability because we have a very small team of musical unicorns, and they are musical unicorns because not only they're phenomenal musicians, they're phenomenal teachers. They actually love solving musical challenges with their students. So no matter what challenges you have, if you need some real independent one-to-one help to really make your piano playing blossom. And by the way, that's one of the most intelligent things you probably could do with your piano playing, rather than just being online and watching these videos. You should head on over to our website, contemporaryschoolofpiano.com, and find out about our coaching. We often don't have much availability, so I don't mention it as often as I probably should, but it's probably the smartest thing you could do for your playing. Many of you, I get emails from you all the time, so I know the sort of things that are going on. You tell me how you've got like 5 fancy keyboards in your music room and you're going to buy a 6th one because it might just do something else to your playing. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you should be investing in some coaching for your playing, even if it's with a great local teacher. Just find a great teacher. Anyway, I just thought I'd let you know about that. So let's calculate a few minor scales. To find a harmonic minor scale, I'll just show this in a nice comfortable C major so you've got some context. The C harmonic minor scale, we flatten the 3rd and the 6th note. So we get this, flatten 3rd, flatten 6th. And that is a C harmonic minor scale. Now, minor is very different to major because there are actually multiple forms of minor scales. That's the C harmonic minor. And the C harmonic minor has a very powerful sound. It's very dissonant because of that flattened 6th creates a gap in the scale of a tone and a half. It's very powerful and dissonant. Composers like to play around with different variations of minor scales for different sounds and different effects in the music. So they're not just stuck to one. So minor is not so matter of fact. Major is. I mean, you can't really change a major scale. It's just, that's the major scale. It's sort of unchangeable. But minor is much more changeable. Now there's another type of minor scale, natural minor. And the natural minor scale has the flattened 3rd. I mean, they all have the flattened 3rd in it. Otherwise, it's not minor. So you've got that in common with them all. So you've got the flattened 3rd and the flattened 6th and 7th. You'll notice the natural minor is much more calm, just more nostalgic calm, not as intense as the harmonic minor. So harmonic minor and natural minor. The reality is composers use both. They don't just stick themselves to one. They're more flexible than that. So when Mozart wrote his 40th symphony in G minor, he combines both harmonic and natural minor. Let me demonstrate. The first phrase is this. That was natural minor. Then the second phrase is harmonic minor. See, he's using a bit of both. Now, if he only used harmonic minor, it would sound like this. Mozart in the Middle East, it sounds like now, doesn't it? Mozart plays Dubai. Wouldn't that be a spectacle? But it isn't. He's used a bit of both. And if he only used the natural minor, it would sound like this. That just falls a little bit flat, but it sounds a bit more like a pop song now, you know. So that's why composers like to play around with both types of minor. It creates effect. So the summary is that natural minor is a flattened 3rd, a flattened 6th and 7th, and the harmonic minor is just a flattened 3rd and 6th. But there's another one, just to confuse you, right? There's melodic minor. Now, melodic minor goes up and down in a different direction. So it's more melodic for that reason. So when we go up the scale, we only flatten the 3rd. So that's pretty easy. And that sounds quite nice because you get that sort of major sound at the top of the scale. We're mixing major and minor together a little bit in that sound. But then when we go down on the natural minor. So it sounds like this. It sounds very melodic. Isn't that beautiful? Now, you might not get that in all 12 keys immediately, but as part of this 30-day challenge, I ask you to set yourself a goal with your scales. And the first goal you want to do, the first goal you want to achieve is get all 12 keys down in a major key, and just with the 5-note scales, just with the microscales, just with those pentascales. And then the second step, turn them into octaves, just with major, or stay on the pentascales and create some minor ones with it. But master the major first, and then slowly transition to the minor. Let us know how you get on with the challenge. If you need some coaching though, just email us. We'll help you. I mean, it would just make such a difference. Many of our students all over the world, they just take one lesson a month with us. It's all you need, and it makes such a huge difference. Such a huge difference. And those of you who know about the power of great coaching will know that. You'll know that technology and being on YouTube will only get you so far. It's been a pleasure helping you through these challenges, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. In the meantime, let us know how you get on with the 30-day challenge with your scales. Thank you very much.